Hello, everyone. Welcome to the DevSlop show. Sorry, my audio is not looking well. Welcome to the DevSlop show, and we have a super exciting show for you today. Before we start, my name is Nancy Gariche. I'm one of the co-leader of the project, and I have with me also my co-hosts who are also team members and co-leaders of the project. And I'd like to introduce them to you because in the last month, we've had quite a few new followers, and I just want you to know them and to know what this project is about. So let me bring them on the screen with me. Go ahead. So hi, Tanya.
Hi, how's it going?
Excellent, excellent. Nikki's not on camera, but she's here with us.
Apologies, I have very poor bandwidth, so it's audio or video, not both.
That's fine. I'm glad you're here with us today. So yes, Tanya, if you want to tell us a little bit about us for whoever doesn't know who you are and about the project.
So I'm Tanya, Janca, also known as She Hacks Purple, and I am a nerd on internet at large. And I am obsessed with the security of software, and I make videos and stream, and I run a school called shehackspurple.dev where we teach people how to be application security engineers, essentially. And I met Nikki at an OWASP conference way back in the day. And I also met Nancy at a conference, a tech conference. And when I met Nikki, it was because I had been using this vulnerable app that she had made to teach lessons on how to hack stuff. And it had broken, and I had called out to OWASP community, as I do when I am stuck. And then, like any true software developer, Nikki responded and said, "Try now." And it worked. And then we met and we clicked, and it was awesome. And then I went to visit her in New York City, and we gave a talk together to present this cool thing she built. And then she was like, "Do you want to start an OWASP project with me?" And I answered, "You had me at hello."
I love story.
And we wanted to know, as information security professionals, like, how do you test DevOps systems? And like, how do you weave security through DevOps environments and offices, and like make sure that we don't mess with their processes, so we weave ourselves into them, not break them and stop them and slow things down. So like how to do security in a DevOps environment and make sure you get good results. And yeah, so Nikki made this awesome app, and I made a pipeline, and Nancy and I were friends, and I was like, "Hey, Nancy." And then she actually makes us organized and look fancy. So any of like the things where we seem professional, that's her.
And she's a master editor.
Now.
She is organized, she is classy, she's like all the professionalism. Yeah, and we also, who you can't see right now, we have Francis here, who is in Switzerland, and it's kind of hard, like, the timeline for her is kind of difficult, so she doesn't join us on the show all the time, but she makes all sorts of pipelines and all sorts of cool stuff.
Yeah, new things are coming up.
Yeah, she comes on sometimes though, and that's awesome. And so we are the OWASP DevSlop show. So we're this education project, and we also build stuff. You can go check out our GitHub repo, aptly named OWASP DevSlop. And yeah, we do all sorts of things, including having amazing guests like the one today, where they teach us something really cool.
Exactly. Well, great transition. Today, our guest is Veliswa Boya from South Africa. She's an AWS cloud engineer working for one of Africa's biggest bank, the Standard Bank. She's passionate about helping others succeed in tech, and she has a blog. She speaks a lot in public events and learn other people's tech. And she's also a marathon runner and enjoy kickboxing. Awesome. Hello, Veliswa.
Hi, everybody. Hi, DevSlop. Thank you so much for inviting me here today.
My pleasure.
Hi to everybody watching.
Yes.
Hi.
When I reached out to you, that was in March, before any of everything that's going on right now.
Yes.
And things have changed in the world and for you. Something new. You have good news.
Yes.
What's going on?
Oh, yes. We're going to go into that just now when I do the intros. But I just want to say, when you reached out to me and I think you had 2 slots. You said pick April or June, I think. And I picked June because it felt like June will never get there. and now June is here. We're here today.
Yeah, it's been a few months.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I will go through my my slides. We'll touch on the intro as well. Then I'll touch on the new thing that happened.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
So yet again.
Let me bring up your slides.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes, ready.
Awesome. It's all yours.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Again, thank you for tuning in, and thank you, DevSlop, for inviting me here today. So we're going to discuss logging and monitoring on AWS today. We're going to do entry level. We're not going to do all the services that are available. We're just going to touch on a few very well-used ones. Just a bit about me. I'm Veliswa Boya. I'm a cloud engineer. I work for a bank. Some fun facts. I've been in IT for about 20 years now, I think. Started out as a mainframe developer. No judging. Do not judge. People always judge me when I say this. And I did about 6 years or so of systems and business analysis, and about 3 years of solutions architecture. And I would say that was probably my best role by far. I just love how when you can bring tech and people together. And I just found that being a solutions architect actually really allowed me to do that. I am AWS certified. I've got 2 of the certifications. And as of about 3 weeks ago, I am an AWS community hero, the first woman out of Africa to be a community hero. So I'm very excited.
Wow.
It's such a big thing for me. I said to the guys when they they let me know, I said, imagine going through your entire career feeling so invisible. You do everything and nobody sees you. And then this happens. So for me, it's such a big deal, and it means quite a lot to me. So yeah, that is that. It's very exciting. So just quickly on, before I start, you are welcome to ask questions. Stop me in any time. I'm not able to see the chat, but if any questions, you can just bring them through. Anything that I'm not able to answer now, I'm happy to, maybe on Twitter, we go and we discuss. Also, the structure of today's presentation, I'm going to do PowerPoint, but I won't just show you PowerPoint throughout. I'll be stopping in between to go onto the management console of AWS just to look at the services that we'll be touching on. So where to find me? I am on LinkedIn, quite active there. I'm on Twitter, that's my handle. And the AWS community in Africa is also on Slack. You are welcome to join us, even if you're not in Africa, and we can connect and chat and talk about all things AWS. So what are we going to touch on today? We're going to look at what is logging and monitoring and why we need logging and monitoring. We'll also touch on what AWS has on offer to help facilitate your logging and monitoring activities. We'll do kind of a deep dive on 3 of the AWS services that help you with logging and monitoring: the Amazon CloudWatch, the Amazon CloudTrail, and the AWS Config. So what is logging and monitoring? I always say, think of any 2 things that you can think of that go very well together. And this is how logging and monitoring actually complement each other. Logging is tracking and storing data to ensure application availability. And monitoring is when you analyze this data and there are alerts should there be any system-related issues. So why do we need logging and monitoring? It gives you full visibility of your environment. You get to know and see what's actually happening and where it's happening. It helps with security and compliance. It helps to alert you on system-related issues. it alerts you of policy violations. So if anybody goes and does anything that they're not allowed to do, you will be able to pick up on this when you've got logging and monitoring switched on. It helps you manage performance of your application, and it helps you automate your environment. So these are the three services on AWS that we're going to look at today, and these help you with logging and monitoring on AWS, Amazon CloudWatch, Amazon CloudTrail, and AWS Config. What I also just want to mention about these services is that it's so awesome how you can have multiple accounts on AWS, sitting on multiple regions on AWS, and have one CloudWatch or one CloudTrail or one config, and it will monitor across accounts for you and across regions. So it really helps you centralize all your monitoring and logging activities, and I think it's quite awesome. And real life architecture especially for big corporates, it's normally how they implement it anyway, because you don't want to go spin up services all over all your accounts everywhere. You just have one, and it does all your monitoring throughout your systems. So first on CloudWatch. CloudWatch is an AWS service that helps you monitor your resources and applications on AWS. It will also monitor your on-premises instances. So if you've got VMs sitting on-prem, you can still monitor them and aggregate your metrics from on-prem onto your AWS CloudWatch sitting in the cloud. So you just install a CloudWatch agent on your VMs, and they will send metrics to AWS in the cloud. CloudWatch also collects and tracks metrics for you. It's actually known as a metrics repository. It collects and monitors log files. We'll look at this when we go onto the console. You can set alarms using CloudWatch, and you can configure events. We'll look at all of this when we go onto the console. So these are just some of the, AWS has a long list, a whole host of services. These are just some of the services that automatically publish metrics to Amazon CloudWatch. Amazon EC2 is one of those services. EC2 is your VM on AWS. DynamoDB is a NoSQL on AWS. RDS helps you bring your relational databases onto AWS. It also sends metrics onto CloudWatch. SNS is your notification service. Route 53 is your DNS. All of these and more send metrics to CloudWatch. I've got a link here. I don't know if you're able to see it. You can actually go and see all the services that send metrics to CloudWatch. So how do you access CloudWatch? There are different types of access methods that are available for you. You can access it via the management console, which is what we're going to use today. You can access CloudWatch via the AWS CLI, the CloudWatch API, and any of the AWS SDKs. That's the console. That's what it looks like, but we're going to look at it when we go onto the console to actually do some demos on there. Yeah, CloudWatch offers a long list of capabilities, but today we're only going to look at alarms, dashboards, logs, and events. So this is the simple architecture use case that we're going to do today. This would be your cloud, your cost optimization architecture. So there is a VM, an EC2 that's sitting and idling. You don't want to have this sitting there idling the whole time, because at some point it's going to start costing you money. So we're going to set an alarm that's going to go and stop it, and then it's going to send a notification to say it stopped it. So that's what we're going to look at when we go onto the console and configure an alarm. Demo time. Sorry, let me just go and share.
It's okay. Seriously, it always takes a bit to figure out how to get it to show on the screen the first time.
Yeah.
Yes. So here we are. This is the AWS Management Console. I don't know, can everyone see everything?
Yep.
Do I need to make anything bigger? Can we see?
It looks good to me.
Yeah, it
And
looks good to
Okay.
me.
Everyone seems excited to see your demo.
Okay, great. So I mentioned earlier, we've got an EC2 that's idling. I already have it sitting running here. Let's just go and look at it. That's the running instance. There it is, it's running. Let's just go and look at the metrics very quickly. Nothing is happening. Our utilization is nowhere. So these are the standard metrics that you will be able to see on CloudWatch for an EC2. You'll be able to see CPU as standard, any disk related, any networks related, and any status check related metrics as a standard metric on CloudWatch. If you want to see things like your memory, you have to configure custom metrics, and those you start then paying for those. But those you can see at every 1 minute interval. These are available at a 5-minute interval. So here we are. We've got this instance that's just sitting and not doing anything. So I've learned a couple of lessons when trying to set up alarms where I try to set everything against an incorrect instance. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy the instance ID so that I know when I go onto the alarm, I'm setting the right alarm. Back to CloudWatch. So there we are. There's nothing that's configured here at the moment. We're going to create an alarm for the instance that we just looked at. And then we're selecting the metrics. So these are the different. So we saw earlier at my other slide that EC2s, EBS are on there as some of the services that send metrics to CloudWatch. We're coming here because we're setting a metric we are monitoring a metric for an EC2. It's per instance. It's not in an auto-scaling group. It's a standalone instance. So I'm going to come and select per instance metrics. I don't think I've got anything. So I'm safe today because it's actually the only instance that's here. So I don't have to worry about that. So these are the different metrics that you can actually start monitoring. We are looking for utilization of our CPU. So I'm going to select this one here. Select metric. So that's everything that you can actually configure. That's the instance ID, that's the metric name that we are monitoring, and I'm going to do a static threshold. If you do anomaly detection, this is when you start using machine learning to help you with your threshold setting. I'm going to do static, and this is what we're going to be monitoring for. I'm saying when it's lower than, I'm going to go for a very low threshold because it's not doing anything. Let's say 5%. If it's lower than that, let's just go to the next screen. If it's lower than that, I want the system to send me a notification here. Send me a notification, and I'm going to configure here to say I want the system to stop the instance. So let's do the sending the notification first. So when it is in alarm, so when it breaches the threshold that I've set, I want it to send me a notification. I already have a topic that I've created on SNS that we kind of touched on before, and that's the topic that we're going to send to. It was sent to an email address that I've just set up just for this demo. And the action against the EC2, again, when it's an alarm, we want it to stop the instance. Next. Is that next? We should be ready to create the alarm, so everything is there. So while we're here, while we wait for, so you see it's going into insufficient. Insufficient is saying that it doesn't have enough data to work with as yet. It's still collecting your metrics. If it goes into OK, it's saying everything is fine. As soon as we breach the threshold, it's going to go onto alarm. And when it goes to alarm, it should stop the instance and it should send me an email here to say what happened. So while we're here, I think while we're waiting for it to go into alarm, let me just add this to the dashboard. I've got a dashboard that I already created just for today. We'll add that, and then we'll just monitor from the dashboard. That's it. So it's still collecting metrics. And while we wait, let me just say very quickly, there's a billing alarm here. There's billing here. It's very advisable that you set billing alarms on your account. As soon as you create it, you set a billing alarm. So you don't want surprises with your bill at the end of the month. So this helps you with that. You just configure here to say, when it reaches a certain threshold and a certain amount, send me a notification. See, it's gone into alarm already. And let's go and see if everything has worked out the way that it's meant to. Let's go back to the EC2 console and see if that instance is still running or not. It should be stopped. It's saying 0 already, so I think we're good. It stopped it. So there should be an email also that's come through saying, there it is. That's the email. You can clean up, I think you can clean up the notification that comes through if you want to. Are you able to see this? Because we can just step through it very quickly. The email that comes through. So there is the topic, EC2 instance terminated. That's the alarm that actually set off. That's the metric we were actually monitoring against. And that is the, let me just look for the instance ID. That's the instance ID that we were actually working with. So that's that. All of that has worked. And yeah.
Veliswa, quick question. Do people use CloudWatch monitoring for performance-related monitoring, or is it really mostly focused around billing management? Like, what's the use case primarily for CloudWatch?
Yes, performance most definitely. So in a real world scenario, you would have a fleet of instances that runs, but you don't want all of them running if there isn't enough traffic that requires all of them. So you will have alarms monitoring to check what your traffic looks like and bring up instances as you need more capacity. So it gets used a lot for performance management.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you customize the alarms to come on other sorts of things, like security related things? Like if you think a bot is attacking your API, for instance?
Yes, we're going to look at that later on when you go to CloudTrail. You'll see what that looks like. No, it's fine. Okay. Okay, so I think let's go back to the PowerPoint if we don't have any more questions here. So, but that was that. It was a very simple use case. Just switch off the instance if it's not being used and let me know about it. Let me just share the next screen. Let's just go back to the demo. There we are. Can you see the PowerPoint again, or?
Not yet.
No.
You're not sharing your screen right now. Okay. Now you are. Let me bring it up. Here we go.
Okay. So that's that on CloudWatch alarms. The next thing that we're going to look at on CloudWatch is the CloudWatch logs. CloudWatch logs help you with monitoring and troubleshooting your systems, your applications, and your custom log files. You can store these indefinitely. They help you monitor for specific phrases, for specific values, and for specific patterns, and then you can trigger alarms. CloudWatch logs integrate very nicely with other AWS services. They also integrate very well with third-party solutions. So you can have, again, an EC2 or a Lambda or a VPC, which is your network, send logs to CloudWatch. You can perform analytics on CloudWatch and then send the information on to another third-party tool, maybe to do further analysis or to do further notifications for you. So it integrates very well. There are also CloudWatch log insights. Insights help you perform analytics against your logs. They help with debugging. Before log insights were introduced, customers had to export the logs somewhere else and perform analytics there. But AWS introduced analytics on CloudWatch so that you don't have to export just to perform analytics. Okay, back to the demo.
Oh, we have a question just before you start the demo. So how can we achieve the same results for multiple instances? For instance, if you have 100 EC2 boxes, can you set an alarm that will alarm on any of the 100 boxes?
Chances are, if you've got a fleet of instances, they would be in an auto-scaling group. And you then monitor just the auto-scaling group. And then it's aggregated metrics for all the instances within that group.
Cool. Okay, thank you. That's great.
Yeah. I was meant to share. I was meant to go to the console, right? Are we seeing the console?
We are seeing not that yet.
We can't hear
You're not
you.
seeing that. Okay.
We can't see you.
Great.
You're not sharing a screen right now.
Yeah,
as soon as you share one, here it is.
I can share it. Okay. Now we're gonna look at CloudWatch logs. So you've got log groups. Log groups are log streams, which are log events that come from the same source. So these are your groups. So everything that is a log, that's from, I've got a bot that I'm busy working on. All the logs for that will come here. We're gonna look at the logs for my weather bot actually. All the logs that are associated with S3 buckets will come here. When you create the service, you can actually say logging, switch it on, and then it will create this group for you here. And then it just ships your logs onto here. Let's just look at the logs that I've been collecting for this bot. It's still very early days, so it's still, I'm encountering errors, and exactly what I wanted to have for today's, just for us to step through them. These other streams, and I think I'm gonna look at this last one. So let's look at it. See, I'm still encountering errors. So there we are. Now I'm going to go on to log insights, and I'm going to search for certain values in here. Log group, again, is my weather bot. So what I'm gonna look for here, I'm gonna query for events that are an error record in a sense. Yeah, that's so that would be a message that I'm expecting this, like we saw earlier. Just run the query, so it's against the fetching data. So this could happen if you just, you need to remember to change the timelines here. So I've got it at an hour, and I haven't run anything in the last hour, so there'll be no log record from about an hour ago. That's why we are not finding anything here. So I need to just customize. I'm going to say from maybe about a week ago, there will be records from about a week ago. On this query, it's fetching data. There should be, yeah, there we go. So there we are. That's the records that we were looking for. What you could do from here is then you've got your query results. You could export them somewhere else or dashboard them as well, like we did with the alarm, depending on what you were trying to query for here. So that's how you use insights against your logs. That is that here. I don't know if there are any questions.
There are a few questions.
Yep.
Okay.
Nikki, do you want to go?
Yeah,
You started?
I'll start with the last one that I think is newest. Question is, isn't CloudWatch X times more expensive than using a regular elk stack for monitoring? So it's comparing CloudWatch versus a standard elk stack. Well,
there are a lot of variables that go into pricing on AWS. So it's not a very simple, straightforward answer that I can give, because different variables determine how much you're going to get priced.
Yep.
But we can, yeah.
Right, and then there's also the cost of monitoring the actual elk stack infrastructure, et cetera. So you're right, it is very complicated. Next question. I have a query. Can we use web server in Azure Cloud, a DB server in AWS Cloud, like connectivity between both clouds? I'm not sure that I understand that question in terms of how this relates to logging and monitoring, but maybe you understand it.
Do they mean have workloads sitting on Azure or another cloud and workloads sitting on AWS, and you use CloudWatch to monitor across?
I think that's what they mean. Yeah,
Chances are you can't, because there probably is a native monitoring tool on Azure, and it will work with Azure workloads. Like CloudWatch is native to AWS. As far as I'm aware, you can use CloudWatch to monitor on-prem workloads, but I'm not aware that you can use it to monitor across clouds. I don't think you can.
Sounds unlikely.
Yeah, I think that's right. And then there is one more question. What are third-party tools on which we can send CloudWatch logs to for further analysis?
I can't think of one off the top of my head, but there is a list. I can post it on my Twitter after this session, but they do exist. I can just go and just look them up and just post them or send them through.
Yeah, and they generally go into any SIM that you may have. So yeah.
And it depends on what you're looking for too, right? Like if you want to do exactly what she's doing versus because there's lots of different analysis that you could do if you really wanted to. Like if you get a data scientist involved.
There are even other tools. There's an analytics tool called Athena on AWS. It's advanced analytics. So if you want to do analytics that are more advanced than what I just did now, you can actually integrate to Athena and it will do that for you.
Cool. We have one more question that just came into the chat. It says QNS. I'm not sure what that's for. And it says, for Kubernetes workloads, how easily can CloudWatch be implemented as a logging and monitoring tool? And how can it be compared to Prometheus?
I'm not aware of the tool Prometheus, but there is a container insights here. This is for your containers. And I still in beta though. I don't know if it's in beta. Yeah, it's still in beta, but there is a capability for container monitoring on CloudWatch.
Nice.
Yeah, and just because I know firsthand, EKS does integrate. If you're using Amazon's managed Kubernetes, it does integrate with CloudWatch. The control plane does 100%.
Yes, it does.
Okay, everyone's asking lots of questions now. So someone's asking. Everyone's excited now. So someone's asking, is Datadog as an example of like a third-party company that could potentially analyze the logs?
Yes. Definitely would be one of the potentials.
So someone
but I can make sure.
Okay. Sorry, everyone's like, oh my gosh, we're allowed questions now. Everyone's pretty excited. So can we set a log rotation to try to manage costs? based on size and or time, for example. So I guess like if you work in an office that's open 9 to 5, your customers come 9 to 5, can you just like monitor that time? Or I'm not sure exactly what Lisa Q means, but.
Let me just think. Cost of monitoring. What you actually pay for is the storage of your logs, not the actual monitoring itself. So, and even at that, storage is at is a service, another service of AWS known as S3, and I don't want to touch on pricing today because pricing can be very complicated. But really, what you pay for is storage of your logs more than the actual monitoring itself. But I can make sure and get back to everyone.
Okay, we have one last question. So for application-related KPIs, do you use CloudWatch? And I'm guessing, yeah.
Definitely.
Nice. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to stop interrupting and we will wait to ask more questions until there is like another. Please continue. Sorry, like dying for
okay. Okay, great. So let's just go back. I think we're done on our CloudWatch logs for now. Let's just move on to the next, which is events. Let's just go and look at that. Let me just. Share screen. I'm slowly getting the hang of this, switching between my PowerPoint and.
You're doing great.
So CloudWatch events, that's the last thing on CloudWatch that we're going to look at. So events help you, this is the official definition of what events are. They help you configure and deliver near real-time streams of events that describe changes in your AWS resources. So basically what they are, should there be a stage change in any of your services, they let you know. That's what events actually actually do for you. I just want to also just mention while we're on events, although for this demo and for this talk today, we're talking about CloudWatch events, there's actually another service on AWS called EventBridge, which is a serverless event bus. It's built on the same API as CloudWatch events. It has more features than CloudWatch events. It's actually recommended that you actually use EventBridge for your events versus using CloudWatch events. But today we're just going to look at events. I think in your own time, you can go and just explore and play around EventBridge and see what that actually does. So that's what CloudWatch events is. How does CloudWatch events work? It's also on CloudWatch. You get two types of events. You get event-based events. The event-based events monitor for state changes on your AWS services, and then they will consult a target, and the target does further processing based on what the state change is or what you actually configured as a rule. You also get time-based events. These are like your cron jobs. So you've got the schedule and say at a certain time, run and do a certain task. But we're going to look at this when we go onto the console. We're going to look at a very simple use case again. We're going to create a pattern-based event that's going to look to see when I delete an S3 bucket and send me a notification. That's all it's going to do. Okay, demo.
I like demos.
Share quickly. Back to here. Share. Back onto the console. We can see it, right?
We can't hear you, Nancy, but you look great.
I keep doing that. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so just before you go and we see your screen, there's a few questions. Do you want to take care of those first, or do you want to start your demo?
Okay, we can do the questions.
Yeah. Okay. So go ahead. Do you want to go ahead, Tanya? Now we can't hear you.
Oh, I do want to. Okay, so question regarding Azure. So she is an AWS hero, so I just want to, Azure's a bit off topic, but I believe you should be able to install and configure CloudWatch agent on any Azure VM and send the data to CloudWatch. I guess you could manually jigger it together, hack it together maybe, but I guess that's less of a question.
Yeah, you probably can. What I'm very sure of is that your on-premise instances you can, but other clouds, I haven't really seen anything that says you can. You probably can.
Here's a follow-up from Barco. He says, you can also configure your Azure diagnostic logs to send data to event hubs in Azure and write an Azure function, for example, to write your messages to your AWS CloudWatch via its API.
Okay, great. Okay.
And we have, I guess, a compliment. This is a great presentation. I'd been looking into observability for an article and liked how you tied logging and monitoring and explaining the value that CloudWatch offers.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. I'm glad.
And there's
Thank you, Jeff.
smiley faces. So that's good.
Okay, let me share your screen.
Thank you. Okay, great. So we're back at the console. We're going to configure an event rule. The event rule is going to say, if anybody tries to delete any bucket, send me a notification. Before I, okay, let's create the rule and then we'll go and look at the S3 console and see what actually is sitting there. Create a rule, it's the event pattern. So the share rule would be a cron job, but we're not going to do that today. We're going to do the event pattern. Service, so the event source is an S3 bucket. Your event source can be an API gateway, can be a batch job, can be an EC2 instance, but today we are looking at a S3 bucket. That's S3 simple storage service. The event type that we are on the lookout for is at bucket level. So with S3 buckets, you've got bucket level and you've got object level operations. Buckets store objects. So if you're only monitoring bucket level operations, you're just worrying about what happens to the bucket. If you go to object level, you want to see what actually happened to the object inside the bucket. But we're just doing bucket level today because we're just checking for a deletion of a bucket. Bucket level operation. What operation are we looking out for? It is a delete bucket event. And target, that's the one that we looked at earlier. These are the different, can be another AWS service, but today we're just gonna set up we're gonna do another emailing because it's a notification again to tell me that someone has just deleted a bucket. As an S topic, I've got a topic that I've created already for this demo, and you can have more than one target. So you can say here, send me a notification, and then have it say do something else as well. But we're just gonna send notification today. And configure details, this is where you just give the rule a name. Delete bucket. And that's it, and then you create the rule, and that's that. So what should happen now, if I go onto the S3 console, and I delete a bucket, I should get an email. Just look. So I created a couple of empty buckets. You can't delete a bucket that's got objects in it. So this is an empty bucket that I created for today. So let's use this one. So we just noted the name of it. It's always to delete one. When I get the notification, it should say that bucket name that I've deleted it. Let's get the name of it. Confirm. So success, it's deleted it successfully. And there should be a new mail. There we go. S3 bucket deleted. That is the, you can clean this up as well. I think that's the event we were looking for, delete bucket. That's the region it's sitting in. It was sitting in EU West 1, which is Ireland. That is the bucket name that we deleted. That's that. So I've received the notification to say the bucket was deleted. So that's that. If any questions, I can take them now on this.
Okay. It's mostly just people all commenting and agreeing with each other right now in the chat. And all just being like, yeah, yeah. That's good.
Okay, great. Okay, let's go back onto the presentation then. Let's just go there. Sure. Okay, so we are done with all things that have to do with CloudWatch. We're going to move on to the next service, which is CloudTrail. So CloudTrail, just think of in a traditional environment where you have to do logging. You have to acquire log servers. You have to acquire data stores. You have to worry about config files. You have to install agents just so you can store these logs. You have to be able to evidence that no one is tampering with these logs. It can be quite a lot. With CloudTrail on AWS, it takes care of all of this running around for you. So what is CloudTrail? CloudTrail is a service that helps you meet your security and your operational best practice by facilitating logging and monitoring of all your API calls. I think there was a question earlier about, but this is what CloudTrail will track all the API calls made in your account. It tells you what happened. It tells you who did it. It tells you when they did it. It tells you even whether they were actually successful. So if someone tried to do something they're not authorized to do, it will still let you know about it. All your logs are stored in S3, which is durable, which allows you to configure lifestyle policies. Lifestyle policies say how long you want objects to be stored for. Because of this, it helps you meet your PCI DSS and your HIPAA compliance requirements. So who gets monitored by CloudWatch? By CloudTrail. CloudTrail will monitor a root user, will pick up if it's an AWS IAM user, it will pick up if it's a federated user. So the user is not even managed on AWS, it will still pick them up. Any user that tries to interact with your environment, it will pick them up. It doesn't matter what access method they use, whether they use the management console, the CLI, or the SDKs, it will still let you know. Are your logs safe in CloudTrail? Access on AWS to CloudTrail is centrally controlled. There are IAM roles that you can define that let you assign role-based access. You can configure bucket policies that control access to the S3 buckets that store your logs. You can still define MFA, which will enforce read-only access to the S3 bucket that contains your log files. So how does CloudTrail work? All you do is to go into the console and you enable CloudTrail. As soon as people start interacting with your environment and there are API calls that get made, log files will be sent to S3, and these are SSE server-side encrypted. You can configure optional notification. When a log file is delivered to S3, you can have a notification come and let you know that a log file has been delivered onto the S3 bucket. Okay, back to the console. Okay, we're now going to look at CloudTrail. So I have a trail that I actually enabled a couple of weeks ago. I wanted to collect a couple of events just so we can actually look at them today. But we will also go and create a new trail. You can have more than one CloudTrail in your account. You can have different trails for different types of events on your account. We're going to look at that when we create the other trail. You can also have different cloud trails for different regions in case your applications are multi-regional. It depends on your use case. So we can already see here, let's just view all events. So not too long ago, I deleted a bucket. I deleted a rule. It can take up to 15 minutes for the event to land on CloudTrail. So let's just see if there's any that we can look at. That's the stop instance that we read earlier. That's that EC2 that we stopped. That's the resource name. Because that was an API call, it's already here. So I get notified that someone stopped an instance in my environment. So that is all the detail. It will give you all the information, what the event name was, what the IP address that tried to, that performed the operation. It gives you all that information on here. Let us just look at insights quickly before, let's create, let me just look and see if we, okay, yeah, let's just look at the existing trail and then just see. I'll touch very quickly on what insights on trails are. So these are the different settings that you have when you create a trail. Insights here that we've got are not the same insights as what we had before for logs. These insights here, if you enable these, you are saying that if there is an unusual activity or if there's a volume spike for a certain API, you want to be notified. These aren't enabled automatically. You have to say you want them enabled. And when you do that, there's additional charges though that apply. So that's insights on CloudTrail. Let's create a new one and so that we can just step through and see what it actually trails. Let's just create a new trail. So the one that I already have, let's just give a name quickly. Trail 2. Apply trail to all regions, yes or no? My existing one is saying yes. So doesn't matter where my account is sitting, all my regions that I have, all their logs will come to this one trail. So what you could do if you want is to have separate trails for different regions. Same applies for read-write events. My existing one says it wants all events, but you could say here, I want only read-only events. Read-only events just read a state of a service, or I want write-only. Write-only let you know if there's been a state change. This is for key management service on AWS. If you want to be notified, should there be an event that changes that. Log insights, we already touched on it if there's unusual call volumes. Data events are also not enabled automatically because you also get charged for them. Data events, in the case of S3, so when you create a CloudTrail, automatically your bucket level operations will get logged. Your object level operations don't automatically get logged. You have to say here you want them logged. When you do, you will get charged because you are now storing an increased number of records. And that's why there is a charge for that. That is all you do. You have to define a bucket name where all your logs are going to be stored. You could say create a new bucket to know. So you could use an existing bucket or create a new bucket just for this trail. And that's that. And then you create it and then it will start logging all your trails as soon as you've created that. So that is that on CloudTrail. I think I did mention it at the beginning. I don't know if I mentioned it at the beginning of the talk. You could have CloudWatch actually, you could set alarms against your CloudTrail on CloudWatch. So the two services do work quite well together. So that is that on CloudTrail. I don't know if there are any questions at this point.
Everyone seems really happy in the chat. They're all just quietly listening.
Yeah. People say it's very nicely explained, so that's good.
Great, thank you. Okay, so now we're going to look at the last one that we have, AWS Config. So what is AWS Config? AWS Config is a service on AWS that gives you a view of configurations of your AWS resources. It gives you a view of how these resources are related to one another. So in a case of an EC2 that we looked at earlier, which is your VM would normally be secured by a virtual firewall, which is a security group. So it will tell you that this EC2 and that security group, they actually are related. It helps you take care of your audit and compliance requirements. How does config work? It evaluates your resource configurations for defined desired settings. So you go and say, this is my desired setting for, say, security groups, and it will check against what you've defined as what you like. If it picks up anything that violates that, it then lets you know. It does snapshots of configurations for you, and it will flag violations and send you alerts via that SNS service that we looked at earlier as well. So back to the console for config. There we go. Share.
We're seeing multiple screens.
Can you see my screen?
Not your not what you want to share, I think.
Okay, let me just. There we are. And then there. Can we see?
Now.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Okay, so this is the last service that we're looking at, config, and then we're just going to step through and see how that actually works. Yeah, so let me just delete that. I just create more real estate for me. So when you first come onto config and you look at it, you can see all of this, and it can feel overwhelming. All it is this here. They call them configuration items. It's just listing for you all the services that you have and objects and items that you have in your account that qualify for config rules. That's all this is. So, and you will come here and you'll create a new rule. So there's a rule that I actually created a couple of weeks back. I wanted to just have something for today. So the rule that I have that's already running says, if port 22 of my security group, which is my firewall, is open to the world, it's a violation. Let me know, as you can imagine. Do let me know about it. So this I created a couple of weeks back, but it picked up on these two security groups that we were going to go and look at as well. That port 22 is open to the world, which is a violation. So let's just look at this one. So let's just step through this quickly. Resource type is a security group. When last did it do a check? Well, it was yesterday. And let's just see what's here. So that's one of the security groups that's in violation. Resource actions. So you can come here and you can view details of the security group. You can check timelines. When was this object that's in violation? When was it created? And when did we pick up the violation? Here you can come and manage it, where you can come and fix what's causing the violation. So let us view details. Let's view details. Yeah. This should take me, yeah, here we are. So that is the resource name. That is the resource ID. It was created on the 15th of February this year. So it's been in violation since then. And I think I want to go and manage the resource. This should take us to the EC2 console, because security groups should be there under EC2s because it's firewalls for EC2. So here it is. Let's check inbound rules of this. There we are, port 22, open to the world, which is a violation. So I could come here and modify it and fix it, but that's fine for now. I just wanted us to just look at it and just step through that. So we're going to go back to config and define a new rule, just so we can step through what how you actually define a rule on config. Rules, you add a rule. So I've got a rule that I defined yesterday as well for my API gateway. I'm saying there should be logging for all your APIs, which is a reasonable rule to have. And add rule, I'm going to add a new rule. This here is all the rules that you can actually define in config. So let's just see which one we can actually work with today. Okay, say access key. Let's define an access key. Make sure that there's rotation. What's awesome with config is that a lot of the information is so pre-populated for you. There's very little entering of new information that you actually have to do. Names and descriptions, everything is already there. So here you are defining the max age for your access key before you're enforcing rotation. So if there's any access key that's sitting here and that's older than the 90 days, it's a violation. Remediation action, here you say auto remediation. Do you want to auto remediate? Yes or no? When I created the SSH rule, I said no. And that's why, I don't know if you noticed, there was a blue button, it was disabled because I'd said no auto remediation. And you capture all your parameters and then you save, and that's it. You've got your rule created, and then it will start checking for violations immediately. So that is that on config. I don't know if there are any questions.
There is a question. So they're wondering how to check if your AWS environment is under a denial of service attack or a distributed denial of service attack. Is there, I know that they offer protections for that, but is there a monitoring like alert that can be set up?
Yes, there's another service that you can have. It's a WEF, it's a firewall that will check for all of that for you. You can have the same configurations set for your APIs. So on your API gateway, it will help pick up those for you as well. So you can have around your entire network, that's the WEF, or you can have for your APIs on your API gateway. You can also configure there to check for those.
Cool, very cool. Thank you.
So I think we're at the end of this, and we are at the end of it. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me.
This was great. You give good explanations, like very clear.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
I am a novice to AWS, so this was quite informative.
Thank you. Yeah, that is the idea. So I'm glad.
Awesome. So there's lots of nice comments in the chat. People are happy. Yep, great content. Thank you, etc.
Great. Thank you. This was awesome. Thank you to everyone who joined in. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the contributions. I appreciate them. I've also learned something new. I didn't know. I'm still focusing on this one cloud, and I haven't really ventured out to the other ones. So I learned something new today. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Also, people are complimenting your presentation style as well.
Oh, great. I'm glad. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I guess we are at the end of our time, Nancy, and that means
we are, and we are. We're giving away an AWS, because you're here, Veliswa. We're giving away an AWS cloud practitioner, certified cloud practitioner voucher. So quite a few of you signed up, and here's the winner in a few seconds. We'll figure that out really soon.
I love the rainbow spinny thing.
Me too. So Sujit Sahu, I hope I'm pronouncing that well, but you're a winner today. Yay!
Yay.
And yes, so we'll email you. I know the form said to email us, but we have all your info and we've seen you here. So I'll see. We'll email you really soon after the show. What else? I think that's all we had.
Did you tell them about what our next show is?
Our next show, yes, our next show is in 2 weeks. On June 28th, we'll have Rajit Hanit talking to us about API security. I know that a few weeks ago, I think early May, Katie Paxter-Fear came to talk to us about API security, but from a bug bounty perspective. But Rajit is a tester. So she'll go through the API security top 10, but also give her her perspective and practical advice as a tester, how she's using it. So in 2 weeks, to be notified, subscribe. We're everywhere, right? We're on LinkedIn, Twitter.
Yeah. Where can we learn more about you, Veliswa?
Yes.
I'm on Twitter. That's my handle there. If you can actually
I shared it a whole bunch of times in the chat.
I'm on LinkedIn, and yes, and I think I mentioned earlier that we've got the Slack. We're on Slack, the AWS community in Africa. I think I can. I don't know, how do I share that link? Because I'm sure there'll be people who, in case there's anyone who's keen on joining us, and we would definitely welcome you. Let me just go back. It was at the beginning of their.
Yeah, if you want to share.
Can I share it on the chat? I think I can. Yeah. Yes. Yes. I don't know.
And do you have any events coming up that we should be aware of?
At this moment, no. At the moment, no. Nothing.
That's cool.
Nothing scheduled as yet, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're all going to follow you on Twitter and on LinkedIn if that is our platform of choice. So we will learn when you announce it.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Yes. Thank you, everyone on the chat. That was nice. That was nice of you, your participation. Thank you for a nice hello to Borko, who answered a few questions in the chat. So thank you for being here. And again, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.
Great. Bye.
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 He's like.